Welcome to the video podcast series, From Innovations to Success. I am Marianne, and today we take a closer look at the sports and leisure industries. And for that, I would like to thank and welcome the China IPR SME Helpdesk IP expert, Reinout van Malenstein, for joining me today. Welcome.
Thank you, Marianne.
Reinout, we have come off the Olympics roller coaster just recently, and the sports and leisure industries, products and services have put into the spotlight. So why don't we start by you listing the intellectual properties that are related to sports and leisure?
Now, as you know, Marianne, there are 4 areas of intellectual property that can be relevant here. So that is patents, copyright, trademarks, but also trade secrets. Copyright, for example, you can think about a sports company that makes an app to track, for example, how many steps you take and how much calorie you burn, and if that's a new kind of software, then that is copyright protected the moment it is made.
So by the way, you use this kind of sports app yourself or not?
I do actually use that myself, yes, yes. Interestingly though, although you get that protection automatically in China, it is highly advisable to still register that copyright with the China Copyright Protection Center. Now, that's not necessary in order to get protection, but it does make your life a lot easier the moment someone copies you.
And what about the trademarks or patents related to sports and leisure?
Well, a trademark, for example, you can think about Michael Jordan, for example, who in China, but in many countries, has this jumping basketball registered as a logo trademark.
Exactly.
Now, if you see Usain Bolt making this pose, or maybe it's more like this pose the whole time, then he could, for example, I'm not sure if he has done that already, but get that logo of a man doing that protected for this kind of sportswear or the articles that he wants to make products for. But trademarks are an important consideration, because if you don't register it in China, then you're not protected for that name. And even worse, someone else might come in and registers that name for himself. Which happened to Michael Jordan actually.
Yeah.
His Chinese name, Chao Dan, got registered by a Chinese person, and Michael Jordan still doesn't have that trademark back in China.
And what about patents and trade secrets?
Well, a patent gives you a monopoly to a certain invention, or in China a certain design. And a trade secret is only protected as long as you can keep it secret. And so, for example, the Coca-Cola formula is a trade secret. Nobody knows how to make Coca-Cola except for Coca-Cola, because they use contracts and all kinds of measures to keep it secret and safe, right? But if your patent can be reverse engineered, so if I see, for example, this step measurer, if this would be a trade secret in China and I can just see how it works and make it myself, then I'm allowed to make it myself, because reverse engineering in China is allowed. But if it's patented, this step measurer, then I will be the only one that can put it on the market, and I have a monopoly that way.
So if we keep going with the Olympics team, China is going to host the Winter Olympics in 2022. And obviously it offers great potential for also European SMEs. But as an SME, it's a considerable step entering Chinese market. So not every small and medium-sized enterprise is ready for this kind of internationalization. So why don't you provide us a sort of like a short checklist, what they need to think about before entering the Chinese market?
Step 1, get an IP person within your company. So there's a complete overview of knowledge of IP within the company. That's 1. 2, register your IP in China, because protection in Europe will not cover China. So 3, know what kind of IP is on the market and do not infringe upon that. And then 4, if you do business with Chinese companies, for example, you want to produce your products in China and there are trade secrets involved, make sure you have the correct contracts that make sure that your trade secret is being kept secret and safe.
So we see that the market, the sports business, is mostly penetrated and dominated by huge sports brands as Nike and New Balance, Reebok, Adidas, Under Armour, you name it. But how do you see the SMEs potentialities?
That is a very good question. And the potential is enormous actually. And nowadays with like Kickstarter and those kind of crowdfunding, people like you and me, if we have good ideas, can just find funds, find money there for people to invest in our ideas. And as long as you make sure that before you ask the money from people, you have already your patents filed on these technologies or on your trademark if you already have a trademark, then you have a huge potential in becoming the next Under Armour or Nike or Adidas. Because those companies were all founded once as small and medium-sized enterprises. But the clue is, if you do not protect, for example, such a new invention by a patent, that means you will not get a 20-year monopoly to be the only one to put that on the market. And that means that if you do not have that patent, that monopoly, everyone can make your invention. And then it's very hard to compete because you are a new product and maybe people rather buy like your product but then with like the Nike trademark on it. So only if you have patents that can be protected.
Thanks for being our IP coach today.
Very nice. Thank you for having me.
Thanks. If you're a European SME looking for new markets for your sports or leisure products or services, by all means, put on your running shoes.
Come to China.
We will see you in another China IPR SME Helpdesk video podcast.